My name is Trent Brock. Several weeks ago, Dan Cohen contacted me and asked me if I would like to be a part of his project called Awakenings in Real Life. After reading the article that he had about his father, will you give me a few minutes to hear my story? You'll know why there's no doubt that I want to be a part of this. So let me just start out by telling you a little bit about myself. I'm originally from North Louisiana, just regular average guy. Graduated with an IT management degree, traveled around the US installing computer systems and then eventually internationally, and ended up in New Zealand. But chance, crazy opportunity, met some American guys that were training for some boxing matches. Their manager had a kettle corn popcorn like craft market business where he makes it outdoors from his home state of Washington, and he realized they didn't have kettle corn in New Zealand. So, long story short, he and I started a kettle corn business together, and it grew from a weekend business into the second largest manufacturing plant in New Zealand. I was in popcorn heaven, living my dream. In 2019, I started limping around the factory. Um, I got diagnosed with a torn butt muscle, and a few months later, they figured out it was massive, aggressive hip bone cancer. Well, it's public health care in New Zealand. And so I go into the hospital and they decide, well, we're going to remove the cancer, make an implant, and put that in, and it'll be fine. It took a couple months to make the implant. And then by the time we're ready to do the surgery, the cancer progressed and implant wouldn't fit. One, two, third time, they said, it's progressed too much and we're going to have to cut your leg off. I had a meltdown. My folks were still in the States and they would be on the phone in my appointments as my support person. My dad stepped in and he just said, look, you've been promising us you're not cutting Trent's leg off. He's a fighter. He's not a quitter. My son has done things that no other guy I've ever known has done. He's a special person. Give him a chance with this leg. And if it doesn't work, cut it off next year or whatever. But he's not a starfish and he can't grow it back. You got to figure something out. Reluctantly, the doctor came back a few days later and he said, I'll leave the leg, but I'm not guaranteeing anything. We got the cancer, but his leg was shorter than the other. I moved my entire pelvis and I was told I'd never walk again. Several months in the hospital, we got out back to normal life. Next, next scan, pancreas and lung cancer. Can you believe it? Okay. Have a pancreas surgery. COVID hits. We're locked down. You do surgeries on your own. Have a pancreas surgery. They remove half my pancreas and spleen. It's a misdiagnosis. It was actually a blood clot. I'm sorry. Nothing we could do. I guess I beat pancreas cancer, right? Kind of. Several months later, okay, I have lung cancer. We cut that out. Then we go back to the hip because it had been infected from this hardware that they put in so my leg wouldn't move around. And that was the cause of the infection. They did another surgery and that was a botch up. A couple of weeks turned into several months. So my next scan in early 21, no, this time you really do have pancreas cancer, Trent, for real. Had a biopsy. Yeah, it was. All right, I'll just show you guys just kind of a few props to kind of just give you an idea. So this is the x-ray of when they actually removed my hip. You can see this is my entire pelvis, okay? And they removed the hip. That is the little wire that they put in there. It kept my leg from moving upward. A bit archaic, but and that year later when they decided they were going to take that out, well, there was nothing to stop my leg from, migrating up. And this is what the result was. You can see the leg bone. It moved from here to here, over 4 inches. I eventually this would be a normal shoe. This is the shoe that I ended up having to wear. That's a 4.5 inch lift, something like that, right? I'm on crutches and I have an infected hip and I'm diagnosed with terminal pancreatic cancer with less than a 5% chance. I'm just trying to find somebody to just give me something positive, right? And all of them, from my orthopedic to my pancreas doctor to my um, lung doctor, you're not going to make it through this trend. We're giving you a year. You should go home and be with your family. We met your parents. They're lovely. And you should go home to the U.S. The problem was I didn't have insurance and I didn't think I could get insurance. So the conversations were, I'm going to stay here because I'm not going to bankrupt the family because I'm going to die when I do. Send me home and do whatever you want. It was terrible. It was during COVID. We were locked down and it was so lonely and isolating. I had an appointment with my pancreatic surgeon, and the news wasn't good. I talked to my parents after. That's kind of the routine we had, and that is when I had my awakening. I'm on the phone with my folks. They had been my rock. They had been my support. They had been my hope. They were giving up. Their kids on the other side of the world. They can't come to New Zealand because of, the COVID. I'm not leaving because I don't have a solution to come home. It rocked me to my core. In that same moment, this voice came into my head and it said, "You're a fighter. You're not a quitter. You can do things that anybody can do. You can beat this." And that was my dad that had already spoken the awakening. It just took me some time to get to it. At that point, I changed everything. I changed my diet. I started exercising. I was on crutches with this bum leg. I worked on my mindset and my spiritual outlook. I found a way to get home and get insurance. When they found it in New Zealand was about this big, the size of a couple nickels. In 6 months, it had gotten this big. I was losing weight. I was on milkshakes. I was dying. But you know what? I came back to the States and I found one that wanted to be on my team, that wanted to work with me. We zapped that cancer. And I had a chronic hip infection from New Zealand that they told me I wouldn't, that would never heal and that I would never walk again. I beat the chronic hip infection. I went all over the country looking for doctors and trying to find somebody to do a hip implant. And it was just the impossible. I found a guy that wanted to do it. The only guy I think in the world that could do it. He made this piece right here. This is the $1 million piece, I call it. And this is a replica of my pelvis. This thing fits in here, something like this, right? Over several months and several surgeries, they prepped me up and they put that in there with the titanium hip. And let me show you what that looks like. Okay. So this is what a normal implant looks like that your grandma goes in and gets that and she's out in the afternoon. Okay. This is what the biggest, most complex one that they've done things that they never tried before. Looks like. That was a joke. It's this one. I have rods going all the way across me. You can see that's the whole implant going down into the leg bone. These are into my spine. I knew it wasn't perfect, but you know what? I'm off crutches. I didn't get all the length back in my leg, but I got this much back, and that's a big deal. I'm on crutches now. I'm on it now. Um, I think I met my goal. You know, what I want you to know about this: your health is the most important thing in your entire life. Sometimes you can buy your way out of it, but don't put yourself in that position. Do not give someone that you don't know the authority of your life, like a medical professional. Use them as an input, as a helpful advice to decide what you want to do. You're the person that's been in that head in that body longer than anyone else. And the doctor's with you for a few minutes. And we need the doctors and we need their advice, but they don't know everything about you. I like to use that as a input to the solution. I had to sell my business and I kind of had a restart in life. You know what I do? I'm a cancer coach and I'm a patient advocate. I help people find their awakening. There's nothing better in life than to try to help guide someone to that. I've written a few books. I'm so lucky that I've been a part of a three-part series where I've written a chapter in each book, a little part of my cancer journey all the way through. The series is called Breaking the Silence, Voices of Survivors, and that's volume one. And we have volume two. And last Thursday, just released volume three. I look at the cover of this thing, and that was kind of flashy, but isn't that cool? Golly. I finished up my cancer journey, but I'm not done writing. I love the writing process, and I love the new authors and seeing them grow and helping them through stuff. I'm doing a men's collaborative book where I'm finding guys that want to tell their story in a chapter. It's very therapeutic. You will come out better on the other side. And you might even have a little bit of brotherhood. Have an X space that I do on X Twitter called the Conqueror's Crew, and people come on. It's very casual, it's very relaxed. And they tell their story about how they overcame something. My co-host is a quadriplegic that had a truck crash, and he's paralyzed from his neck down. We have another guy that's half paralyzed, and we have an OT, an occupational therapist that's part of our group, and he gives that medical perspective. And we have medical people come on, and we have panel discussions. So we'd love to have you come on and tell your story. I do free consultations. I'm just so thankful to be a part of this project with Dan Cohen about awakenings. God bless you. Godspeed to you. And never forget that crit, don't quit.